everyone. Welcome to another episode of What the Frickin' Effie. And I have 3 special guests this week. Is going to keep us sane, and Paul is going to be our guest. So let's start off. Raz, can you introduce our guest for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone, and welcome, Paul.
Thank
Paul
you.
Brown is a friend of ours, and we decided to bring him on so that he can share some of his story. Paul does a lot of things, and I'll let him talk about some of those. But some of the things that I wanted to touch on in particular are your transactional funding journey, Paul, your new community, and some of the cool things that you're doing there. We can talk about some of how you got started in lending, because both Effie and I have been doing lending for quite a bit, but you have a pretty interesting story there. And now you're, introducing new strategies like the Echo method that I would love to hear more about as well. And then I think you're also doing another business that is pretty interesting and relevant to the lending space, which is debt recovery with North Peak. So I would love to talk a bit about that as well.
I would love to get us started right away on that North
All right.
recovery.
Effie has some effing funds to recover.
You better believe I do.
Effing funds.
Effing funds. Debt recovery is a real issue. And when I heard that you have a debt recovery company, a collection company, I was like, I got to have him as a guest, period. But I would like for you to tell us a little bit about North Peak Recovery, how it was that you really even thought of the idea and got started. Let's begin there.
Awesome. Well, first, thanks for having me on. This is super fun. You guys are both awesome. So it's a great group to be part of. Raz's intro just reminds me that I don't abide by my own guidance. I always tell people, chase 1 rabbit, you eat dinner. You chase 2 rabbits, you starve. He just introduced me as chasing 3 rabbits. So I'm a little bit concerned I might need to go back to the drawing board after this call. North Peak Recovery really just came out of the fact that I was doing gap lending for a while, subordinate lending. And when you do subordinate lending for any meaningful period of time, unless you're the luckiest human on earth, somebody files bankruptcy, some first position forecloses, and auction doesn't go the way you want it to. Things happen and you lose money. And I'm sure I could have underwritten something better or done things better. Heck, I'm sure I could have done almost every deal better. But that ended up leading me to engaging with a guy named Kiefer Brown. Has a really cool last name, but
Is
we're
he
not
related? Oh,
No, and his
I
wife,
thought you were
Becca
going to tell me
Brown,
your
that's
younger brother or
also,
something.
no, I actually met him through his wife, because Becca Brown is, everybody in the state of Utah knows her because she is involved in almost everything to do with meetups. And she's just an amazing connector, really, really great person. And turns out she's married to an amazing guy that is super fun. And so Kiefer started helping me collect on some of the bad deals that I had. Right. Just privately, because he had experience with that. He's done this for years in some different spaces. And then I started harassing him saying, hey man, why don't we start a business? And I was kind of trying to convince him to come over to the dark side and to start a whole business doing this. And then we were at a meetup in Salt Lake that Pace dropped by. He came through town for like a day.
Mhm.
And I was standing there with Becca. Sorry for this long story, but I'm standing there with Becca and he's talking about how awesome Becca is, and Becca is awesome. And I said, but have you met her husband? And he said, why do I care about her husband? And I said, because he made me $270,000 this week, meaning he recovered debt. Right. And he said, oh, wait, just a second. Where is this guy? Right. Kiefer's like over playing with kids. He's got longer hair, and he is like he looks. He's just super down to earth, just a really mellow guy, right? He's just always hanging out, doing something a little less in the limelight. And so Pace gets him to come over, and then Pace starts talking about how they need to start a debt recovery business, to which I grabbed Pace's shoulder and said, just a sec, bro.
Get in line.
Talk
Get
to
in
the
line.
head guy, okay? We're
Yeah.
already in business.
And then he looked at us and he said, you have 2 weeks to get it started.
I love
So
it.
2 weeks later, North Peak Recovery was started.
Yes.
And Kiefer is the everything to that business. He is the skill and the talent and everything to it. I'm just a minority shareholder trying to hang on and help where I can. But it is a fantastic business because of who you get to help, right? There's so many people that have really unfortunate situations with deals trying to recover money. But when you're a lender, you don't also specialize in recovery. And you know how hard it is when you're doing any industry. Pick whatever you do. If you start trying to be a pro at the other things surrounding it, you just get distracted. And I just love what we do there. I love the idea. It's a tough business because you don't recover in 3 days, right? You don't start a deal and next week have your money back.
Right.
It is kind of a long, brutal process. Kiefer is really, I mean, a dog with a bone on some of these. And again, I got to remind you, this guy is the most mellow person I know, but for some reason, he's able to just go after. I don't really understand how he does it, except one time he told me, he said, the way he sees it is the borrower also needs to get past the problem. And if he can push them through and make them deal with the fact that they have to pay back this and deal with it, they get to move on in their life as well. And I thought, holy cow, that is the most optimistic, positive way of looking at recovery ever.
That's good.
So super cool business. Sorry to be so long-winded, but really neat business. Gets to support people in a tough position. And we don't talk about it very much because we don't want to highlight that, lending
You
can
don't
have...
need customers? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you kind of don't want to... We're in the business of helping people learn to be lenders, and you don't want to say, hey, you know what? There's just a ton of really bad deals, because a lot of them come because we do dumb things as lenders.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
You don't want to talk about the negative side so much, but it is nice to know that there's somebody there that'll help you out.
But yeah, exactly. As a lender, you might want to know that there is a safety net, right? So if you screw up,
Absolutely.
there's this option here.
Yes, I've always blessed Melissa Palmer for coming out with the vetting and the concept of trying to prevent it. But she has lost a shitload of money, just like I was about to lose a shitload of money in the same deal as her. And what about the recovery?
Yeah.
That part is, I think, a different skill set. And I'm really, really happy to hear that you're doing it. And I know that you guys had stated on your site that you had helped somebody to get a K back. What was the one thing that the lender was doing wrong when he was trying to recover that money that was killing their chances of recovering it? And how was it that you guys got it?
Wow. There are so many deals, and they vary from like full scale bonehead to full scale crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, but somebody decided somewhere else in the deal to be just an absolute a-hole, right? So full scale bonehead, you have like, hey, I lent $120,000. What we ask, what can you show us the documentation? Where's your promissory note? So, oh, here's the text string. So like that's on that side, right? You're kidding, right? On the other side, you have just amazingly documented even EMD. Like I'm going to pick on a deal that's EMD. I have an EMD deal with him, but I'm going to pick on a different one. Everything's been done, even to the point of having the title company sign an agreement that they'll abide by the process. And then in the end, the title company decides they want to send the money to the wrong person. And then they want to get obstinate about it. And they don't want to concede to being an idiot. And so you just have to force them through a legal process. You have to force them through something incredibly uncomfortable. So a lot of times, on that side, the lender didn't really do anything wrong. Somebody else did something wrong and the lender can't get their money back. And I think as a lender, I look at that and say, I love that there's somebody like Kiefer, there's a company like that I can say, hey, look, I have all the documents, but I need somebody that while I'm working on lending during the day is pushing this, because I'm not good at that. I don't know how to do that, right? But you guys do. And so there's a big, wide range. And I'd just say what the lenders tend to do wrong is not, when we get to this other side, not clear to the text message side, or there's some that are actually worse than that, but I won't mention them. Because some people, still kind of fall for the Nigerian prince scheme under a different title.
Of course, the prince? No.
It's
it has to be a queen. It's got to be queen.
Yeah, or just, a billionaire called you and asked you for some money and you lend it to him. But so what happens is you'll have people that got some documents, but not all documents, got a promissory note and a personal guarantee and no deed of trust, or, and so you get into that space where you can still recover against it. It's just not as easy. It's not as easy because you don't have foreclosure as your option, not until it's gone through a judgment. And so one of the things that I think North Peak and Kiefer do so well is put pressure on people and then give them an out, right? Here's a way of doing a payment plan. Here's a way of getting out while squeezing the pressure to avoid the legal process, because the legal processes tend to be so long,
And
right?
expensive.
Money soon is better than money later. I think that's just a fundamental principle, but certainly is for most people.
Yep.
Yeah, and as I myself am a customer for North Peak Recovery, fortunately or unfortunately. But yeah, working with Kiefer has been great, and he's a real help. So I'm very glad that North Peak exists.
Effie, we need to help you with the deal because me and Raz are both clients, so you're the
Well, there
only
you
one
go.
here.
But
I
I hear
might
you guys
have
are
mine.
oversubscribed now, right? So I don't know. Are you taking more clients?
Well, Effie's cool enough that we would probably do a deal.
All right.
Thank you. And I'll let you know, because mine is it's not as much, it's not like a huge amount. It's the principal. But I may, by the time this airs, have it cleared up.
Good.
Hint to the who know I will be sending this little thing to, because I have finally reached my threshold. And I made it extremely clear. So we'll see. But yes, I will definitely keep it in mind, because I know that can happen with no fault to anyone's. And then, you could use that, because otherwise it just sucks up all your time and your energy, and it defeats you. And as I said to him, he needs to get past this. I need to get past this. I don't want to have to come literally to him and get past this. Okay, so let's work together and get it done. Because it's only been 1 year, but but thank you for that.
What I'm hearing from this is that Effie is pretty good at recovery as well.
Yeah. Maybe we have a part-time job for you.
Nah, I don't enjoy it.
Nah, it's for
I don't
most
know
of
how
us.
Kiefer can get joy out of it. I mean, somehow he is getting some positive out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this maybe later, but we run a little bit of a lending community. One of the things we're looking to do for North Peak Recovery is something similar, is to open up a community so that we can have regular calls and just give people a forum to come bring their deal and to get certain kind of assistance that doesn't require so much depth. And that comes from the comment Raz just made. We cap out pretty fast. It's a very manual thing. We don't just send a demand letter like an attorney does and then pretend to work and take your $10,000 retainer, right? It's a very small fee up front, and it's a ton of manual labor. On one deal, I think Kiefer told me he had crossed maybe the 200 mark in phone calls. It's like he is not just sending a demand letter and, having lunch. He's really pushes these things. So you can only do so many deals. It becomes very, per person volume based, right? So what we thought is to expand how many people we could help, maybe that kind of a community where we could open it up to call and do things like that might be able to allow us to help more people and teach some of the steps. Hey, go do this on your own, go do these things. We'll create this for you and send that for you, but then go do this. Then you're helping a lot more people, maybe.
Right.
So
right. That's not a bad idea.
Fun.
Yeah, not a bad idea at all. So I'm kind of curious, because I know you mentioned that you take a small fee up front. You go for kind of a contingency mix. Okay.
Almost completely contingency.
Which is really nice. But the thing about contingency is that you don't want to put your time and effort into things you know are going to just not work out. So what are the red flags that would make you immediately say, nah, to a case, even if the debt is huge?
Boy, I wish we had Kiefer here right now. He'd give you a much better list. But what you said is 100% on point. So he'll have a call with everybody first, right? And if it just doesn't look recoverable, sometimes it's just because it's just blatant fraud and they just won't accept it. You're not going to recover on that. Like if somebody has stolen money from you and you can't find them. But there are certain things, there are certain situations, I'm trying to think of a couple obvious ones, where he'll look at it and say, Yeah, I just think your odds are so small at recovery that it wouldn't be fair for me to tell you. Like, I'm not going to charge you even the few $100 we charge because I'm not going to be able to get anything for you. Oh, that's really hard, Effie. Let me respond. Let me send you back a response to that because I
Okay,
want to give you a good response and not make up things.
that sounds
But
great.
he does filter up front, and the intent is we don't want to lead anybody along either.
No,
Yeah,
of
you
course not.
charge somebody money and then
Your reputation wouldn't last long.
it's such a waste of everybody's time, right? Yeah. Sometimes though, sometimes it's just the amount. Like you're trying to recover $6,000. You just say, look, man, because you don't have these documents, this is going to have to go to court. You're just like, this is a waste of time. Take it as a lesson. You just paid $6,000 for a really good education and go because it's going to cost you so much to go through the legal process
Mhm.
because of the lack of documentation and because of the situation and because of what they're claiming. Just take the hit because it's going to be a worse hit if we go through this process, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's as dumb as that, but usually that's not the case.
So, Raz, could you move us on to the transactional funding hub?
Yeah. So, Paul, we talked about communities, we talked about transactional lending, we talked about EMD. Tell us a bit about your community, the Transactional Funding Hub.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. I just got off a call. We do a Monday update call, and it kind of took a while to build during the call. But by the end of the call, I had this laundry list of to-dos. Everybody's starting to finally voice, hey, could you do this? Can we do this? And it was really awesome. And so I love that it's a new community. We opened it November 1st, and it's growing. It's growing in its energy. It's growing in its active participants. And the goal of that community is really to help new lenders start getting their first deals, and specifically in the escrow protected funding space. So I'm not sure which Gator group to call that. Transactional means different things to different people. We oftentimes say transactional funding or sometimes Gator One, but Morby Method is an escrow protected tool as well. I'm not sure if that's Gator One. I think that's a different one. It's a community to one, help people get their first deal, break that 0 to 1 step. That's such a big step. And so the community is tight in its content. It's not a really big, broad span of content with really long videos. It's much more tight. It's much more about steps, do this and this and this every single day kind of thing, as opposed to watch this 3-hour video of me talking about it. It is a ton of fun, but it's a whole full-time job. I didn't realize how much I was getting into, but I do love it and I have a ton of fun with it. Now, where it came from was really because, I did a lot of subordinate or gap or second position, whatever, lending for, I don't know how long, a year, 2 years.
Wow.
And my claim to fame there is that I have done an 8th position note.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It paid.
What?
And it paid. The only notes that I had a problem with were all second position. No thirds, fourths, or eights ever caused me a problem. So figure that one out.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. I actually did the 8th almost on purpose to claim it. I called title and said, hey, I'm going to do just a $10,000 note to finish this thing out. And she said, Paul, are you serious? Do you know what position you're going to be in? I said, I don't know, like 6th or something. She goes, no, you'll be 8th. 8th. Are you sure? I was like, yeah, let's do it just because of that. Like, that's almost worth 10 grand on its own. So
that's what you
anyway,
call doing it for the story.
Oh, just for the fun of it. Yeah, the story of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was that with a friend? Was it with someone you really knew?
It was with somebody I've lent to maybe 5 or 10 times.
Okay.
They've always made good. So, and I was second on that deal. So I was motivated to get it sold because I was second. And most of the other ones were cross collateral liens. It's one of those kind of flippers that takes a property and like throws all the cross collateral on it. And those lenders aren't paying any attention to the fact they're cross collaterals in 6th. Like, what kind of cross collateral is that? Anyway, sorry. That's a whole nother but I was doing that. And then I realized, I'm sorry. I got to run really quick. I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, you now have a first in almost 3 years. A guest disappearing.
The guest has disappeared.
Oh my God, that's
I think he went to
hysterical.
click on that 8th position lean.
That's so funny. Did he say he was also in second?
Yeah, he
So
did.
he was in second and in eighth.
Right.
Okay. I don't do lending like that. I
No, I
don't
don't think
have
anybody
enough.
does.
Are you okay?
Sorry, I just could smell. I had boiling water on the stove and I could start smelling. I totally forgot about it before my last meeting and I had just a pan and you can smell the metal. I was like, oh crap. Anyway,
Well, I'm glad you did that then.
Yeah.
so
And-
my
and-
house didn't burn down.
Repeaters.
Yes, we don't need that. And it is
Yeah,
a first.
so-
It's a first.
Anyway, sorry. Back to where we were before I ran off screen.
Well,
We did that for a while. And then I realized, hey, look, I don't really love this game. You can make a lot of money doing subordinate, but
you can also lose a lot.
you can lose a lot. And it is a bit more of for me, it was more of a high stress game. And I couldn't see a pathway where I was going to let somebody else make those decisions for me. So it wasn't scalable because I had to be involved. And I didn't want to build a lending business that I have to make
Yeah.
the daily decisions. So I started moving at the end of 2024 into transactional because it came from somebody calling me in like November and asking for a $50,000 EMD on a commercial deal. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll figure that out. And so I started doing transactional lending. But during this whole time, I found that I spent a lot of time with brand new lenders, talking to them about my experience, talking to them about what they were trying to do, trying to give advice to get their first deal, trying to help them, doing deals together, number of deals with brand new lenders, doing their very first deal together and showing them. And that's another thing I realized I couldn't scale. I can't scale doing it the way I was doing it. And so that's kind of where this whole community came from. Was I really enjoyed that time with newer lenders and helping them, but I couldn't scale the way I was doing it. It was too manual and too labor intensive. And I'd come to transactional lending thinking this is a much safer place. It's not all safe, as I told you before. North Peak Recovery is collecting on EMD deals as we speak, but it's much safer and controllable. And I thought, okay, I really like the idea of teaching people this as their first step and helping them with this to get their first step. And then where they go from there is their choice. They can keep doing a ton of those,
Right.
or they can go into whatever, but now they've at least got some experience behind them. So
Right.
it's a real fun thing to do.
And by creating a community, in fact, it is somewhat scaled. Each one of those people would possibly bring you deals. Are you charging? I think you are, aren't you? Aren't there different tiers in the community?
Yeah, most people come in as free members, and you can be a free member and have access to most things in the community. We have some upgrade tiers for some upgraded experiences. Like, as Raz deeply knows, we have a white label website that we provide to premium members so they can customize their own web app and present something where they can send their brand out and let clients come to their branded website. But then when they apply there, the whole thing gets taken care of by us behind the scenes. We bring the capital, we bring the processes and the contracts and everything.
Oh, okay. So you are doing the white label for your own network for the people who want to join. And, okay. Yeah, that's definitely one way of scaling. We've seen it with Ryan Schroep and Gabriel. A lot of people
There's
are
a
doing
handful
it
of
that
people,
way.
yeah.
It does make it kind of sensible to bring people together and then work as a group in that way. For sure. And who knows, Raz and Effie may do that too sometime.
There
But
you go. Yeah.
at this point, we're not. Instead, Raz is doing it for everybody. And
He's talented.
oh, he's so talented. Close your ears, Raz. I don't want your head to get big. So it is a good thing for sure. But like you said, it's a different animal. It takes a lot of work and it's more teaching, which, I personally like, but I'm not ready for a community myself yet. But I'm glad that you are. And we can't really have too many of them because, especially when they're free to enter at the beginning, because then you can go and see, do I like the way this person presents it? What's this group like? What are they focusing on? It gives you freedom to check things out.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned a great word with teaching. That's part of the reason I think I enjoy it. So I'm originally an engineer, finance and all the other things I did in my career. I originally am a mechanical engineer. I paid for undergrad teaching engineering math. That sounds super nerdy, but the reason I mention it is I like teaching. I think it's really fun. And I think the community allows me to do that in a little bit more of a scalable way
Yes.
than one-off calls all week, which is just so hard to do while you're also running a lending business.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all have that experience. I mean, Raz was software engineering, got his master's. I don't have my master's, but I have managed a boatload of PhD and master's programs. So, and I have my own degree in education. So I understand. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And I taught ESL for a whole bunch of years.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it is fun. It's fun to be in a group environment where you can help more than one person and learn from each other, which is one of the reasons we have you here. And one of the reasons that I'm making a point of Raz and I focusing on transactional funding. We bring quite a few on. And I'm still doing other things with What the Effie, as the audience knows, but we can learn, because if they go to the episode with Josh, or if they go to the episode with Gabriel, they're different. They're different. Everybody has their own approach. So,
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of that, I wanted to ask you something, Paul, because we were talking about all these other communities as well and how many of them are free and so on. What would you say is unique about your community, and what attracts the members to your community as opposed to others?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably the question that kept me from doing it for so long, right? Is thinking that things have to be tremendously different. This was something that was listed on my Q1 2025 goal list when I planned my goals for 2025.
all right.
And I didn't do it until November because I got caught up all year in, well, how am I really going to be that different than, I mean, you mentioned a couple, but there's literally countless, right? Especially if you leave this certain
Ecosystem.
community. I mean, there's just countless people out there doing things like that. And I got really caught up in that and then realized, one, I really enjoy this and want to do it. That's good enough for me, right? Two, we're all just different, right? So I might really learn well from Effie, but I don't really connect and learn well from,
With me.
Bobby, Ross.
That's not
So-
true. Besides, we're a team. Stop that.
You know what I mean? So some of it's just, hey, look, we do bring uniqueness. But then within that, what I think is something that's a real benefit of the program is, first, we give, even in the free side, we tell you exactly how to do an EMD deal. And when I mean exact, I mean every single step of doing the deal, what to do at every single point. We do the same thing for double close. So even in the free side, we give away value that I think is relevant. I think it's useful to people. We walk them through how to find potential borrowers at the same kind of level. It might seem almost boring and kind of unsexy because it's, how do you make a cold outreach to somebody? Step by step, little things. But I think that's valuable. And what I've found with the many, many people that I've engaged with is that's the number one struggle point. The number one place people struggle is, if I have an hour today to do something, what do I even do? And so what they do, because they don't know what to do, is they go watch more YouTube videos, which is exactly what they shouldn't do.
Right.
Right. And so our, I guess, focus is how to spend that hour to actually find a deal. And then you're in the same community able to elevate. You don't need to leave and go to some other community. In the same community, you can say, okay, now I'm ready to start having a brand and pushing people through my own site. So I want to upgrade, pay a few dollars a month and start being able to do that. Now I'm to the point that I really want to have a CRM. I want to have contracts. I want to actually manage the deals myself. So we're trying to help them be able to grow through that process. But our target is very much 0 to 1. Don't get caught up in the CRM. Don't get caught up in the contracts. Don't get caught up in business credit and all that stuff. Just learn to find and build relationships with people that will bring deals in. That's the most important first step. And that's our focus. I don't know if that makes us different, but it's where we're focused.
I love it. I think the repetition that you get from after having done the first one, you feel like, okay, I think I can do a second one, and then a third one, and then a fourth one. And, that's how, little by little, you get started. And that's how you learn what you want to do and what you don't want to do. It took me,
Yeah.
I don't know, 15 plus EMDs before I said no EMDs. Because for me, it was just not worth the time and all the touching that was involved. And I lost a little bit. It wasn't a big deal. They were just too time consuming. So
They
Raz
are.
and I do double closes and we do Morby methods. That's it. Those are the only two. Now, outside, we do other things too. And I remember when I did my first 6-figure lens, it was like, holy shit, really? But I was, I've since done a couple. But the point is, that first one really requires having someone there and baby steps, knowing exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
And even then, you're
Yeah.
taking risks.
Even then, it's a little bit scary. And you're so right. It helps you build the confidence. You do that, and the confidence from zero to the amount of confidence you build going from your 0 to 1 deal is the biggest jump you ever have, I think. Right? You keep growing in confidence, but man, it's just night and day from I've never done a deal to I've done one. Right?
Yes.
And then
Would you
you
agree?
take that.
Yeah. Would you agree that that's the one thing that probably separates people from never getting started and perhaps being a flyer or finding out it's not for them?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's what we believe is we believe people don't, they want to do something. They don't know what to do. Not everybody is the personality that they're going to just go freaking figure it out, And so we feel like if we can do that, if we can help them get to from 0 to 1, and we can help them with what you do during that 1 hour each night, after work, if we can help with that little piece and get over that, then things open up for them. Just like you said, Effie. Once they do the first one, then it opens up. Their confidence goes up, their eyes open, right? And sometimes they say, hey, I'm not going to do any EMDs. I did that and I don't want to keep doing that. I agree with you, by the way, Effie, on that. We do quite a few EMDs, but we try to make sure that they have 6 digits in them and never 4 digits in them. Yeah. 5 is bearable. 4 is not. Yeah.
I agree. I do. I agree on that. So what is the Raz? You go.
All right. Well, I was going to ask you something related to what you said earlier, Paul. You mentioned scale, and you mentioned that that's one of the reasons why you started the community, to teach people and how, that's one way for you to scale your education in that sense. How do you think about scaling your lending business? Because you mentioned that in the subordinate lending world, you have to be very much involved. How is Transactional different? What are you guys doing in your business right now? Are you not involved in the day-to-day operations? Do you plan to not be involved in the day-to-day? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, that's such a great question. That's very much that's a really important piece of the business to me. If we can't scale, to me, there's no point in doing it. We talked about that earlier. There's just no reason to spend this much work and effort and strain on a business that can't scale. So scaling in the lending world to me is how do you get enough inflow? How can you scale that? Sorry, my throat is so dry.
It's all that metal that you've been hitting up.
Yeah, I know. I think that's what it is in the air. So, how there you go. I wish I had that big glass. How do you scale the leads, the potential deals? How do you build an operational system that can handle scale without people? So how can you build the automations and everything you need to be able to pass high volume through without error? And then how do you have enough capital to handle scale, right? And we don't have $1 bazillion. Say last week, I think it was last week. When was Christmas? Thursday? Wednesday? Thursday?
Oh, days ago.
I can't even remember.
Thursday, yeah.
If it was Thursday, okay, then I guess it was clear Monday. Somebody called us Monday and said, hey, can you fund a $510,000 Morby method tomorrow? If you don't have easy access to capital and you don't just keep 500 sitting around, because we try to keep what's sitting around and we're paying for as low as we can, you miss out on things like that, right? You need to be able to pull in $500,000 in capital tomorrow for a transaction. And we had already 7 figures out on deals. Those 3 things are what I look at. We've been building better relationships. We have a fund to manage capital. The community hopefully helps with the inflow. So when it comes to scaling, I think your question was focused more about the operations. And right now we have a pretty good CRM system. We're trying to automate it a whole lot more. And we have a few people that are working. Our goal is not to need 50 people, right, to run a bigger business. Right now, we do it with me, Justin, my business partner, and one full-time member, Manuela, that's a rock star, and then a part-time member. We hope to not have to grow that significantly, although we do expect that what we will do is have a specific TC like Manuela is on each product line.
Yeah.
Like we would prefer to have somebody that's doing just Morbies, somebody that's doing just EMD. Double close is so easy, but EMD, like Effie said, it's so
Tricky.
contract and labor intensive. And so can Morbi, right? It can be that way. So we expect, we'll maybe have 3 people. If we're doing 100,000 a month in revenue, we think we should be able to do that with the 2 of us and 3 or 4 staff members, which seems like that's a reasonable team.
Because you want to net enough so that it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
You've got 10 people. It doesn't matter how
You
much.
just ruined it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we can, I want to move a little bit to this echo. What the hell is an echo? Talk to us.
So maybe people have given it a different name somewhere else, but we didn't have a different name, so we used that. What it is we started getting people about a year or so ago coming to us, wholesalers that were also connected with the end buyers. So the wholesaler and the end buyer knew each other better than just on a last name basis. And they would say, hey, what we want to do is we want to use our profits as a wholesaler to fund the down payment on the end buyer. And now in a Morbi method,
wholesaler was doing the funding?
Essentially, they wanted to find a way for them to use their money. So on a Morbi method, you have the transaction and then you have a second position note that's being issued, right? This has no second position note. What it's doing is saying the wholesaler maybe lifts up the end buyer price a bit, increases the margin they make between the A to B and the B to C, right? And then they want to use that margin to fund the down payment for C, the end buyer. But they can't just fund it in the HUD, right? It needs to come from somewhere else. So we fund it. We put the money in on the HUD and we get exited on the exact same HUD, right? Not like a double close where you fund one and get out of the other. Not like a Morbi where you fund one and get out of a different transaction. We're in and out of the exact same HUD. We're funding in and getting paid out. And that's why we call it an echo, because it's going in and out like an echo in a room. There's no second room. There's no second anything. We learned early on.
In the final transaction in any way, or did I misunderstand it?
So this would only be the B2C transaction. We'd be putting our money into the B2C as the end buyer's down payment, and we'd get funded out of that same B2C
from the A
with the wholesaler's profits.
Got it.
And so at first we found title companies just got confused. And title companies, let's say you are funding in 70 grand for a down payment and you're getting paid 75 back out, making $5,000 or something like that, right? The title company would call me and say, hey, can I just list you as 5? Can I just net your numbers? I'm like, no, you can't, because the 70 has to show up as a down payment. You have to walk them through it. So what we ended up doing is we created a subsidiary to Real Quick Funds, and then we have Real Quick Funds fund in and we have it paid out to the subsidiary. Because then, since the names don't match,
easier.
They don't get confused. Yeah, we're not trying to trick anybody. It's just more confusing for them to see the same thing.
Right.
Quite honestly, half the time we do this, we're also doing the double close.
Yeah,
we funded the double close on you.
Is this a double close scenario only, or does it work just on a regular assignment as well?
So most of them tend to be on double closes. And what's funny is we'll be funding the double close. So we're funding into the A to B and getting paid out of the B to C on that. And then funding into the B to C and getting paid out. So we're on the B to C contract 3 times.
3 times.
It's just really wild.
Slow it down. I want to make sure I've got it. You're doing the double close from the A to B. Then that's where the wholesaler has a hold of it. And now he's going to present it to the end buyer. And so then from the A to B, you've already done. And now you're doing the B to C. Wait, that's only two. I'm missing one.
Yeah.
Do we need to draw it out?
Yeah,
we put
you.
money, we fund the A to B transaction.
Yes.
And just like you guys on a double close, you get paid out on the B to C.
Right.
Right. But then we're also funding. So that's one line item on the B to C for us, right?
Yes.
But then we're also funding the down payment for the end buyer in the B to C. So now that's another line item we're on because we're inputting now. But then the payout for that is a different line item, the third line item where we're getting paid back out for this. It can look like a mess, but it's super clean. It's really fun. The other way that it happens is, I'm going to use a general term, and anybody listening is going to say, that can't happen, is when a seller concession is involved, because it's essentially the seller's profits that exit us on an echo. It was the wholesaler's profit on a double close, right, that exited us. So if the seller says, hey, I'll give a huge concession that gets used as a down payment, it's that concession that exits us. Now, people listening to that will say, nobody lets that happen. Hard money lenders only allow a 3% or 5% or whatever they've heard concession as the max. It's good to remember that there's a ton of lenders out there and they're not all the exact same, but also something called a seller contribution to rehab sometimes doesn't get treated the same as a seller concession.
Okay.
Sometimes the wording of it alone makes a lender more okay because the seller's contributing to rehab funds, that profit essentially. So short of it is we fund in and out of the same transaction, and thus we call it an echo, is the seller's profit. It's the seller paying us. It's not a seller carry paying us. That's an awesome actually profits in the same deal. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so cool. Tell me, for these down payments, are they does the wholesaler need to bump up their fee so much that it becomes a 20% fee, or like a 20% for the down payment?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what they're trying. Maybe they're just giving part of the down payment away or whatever. But usually what we see is they are, not every time, but most of the time, they're paying the whole down payment. And their price is so low that they can move it up and it still appraises for that easily. And that's what matters, right? As long as
because they need to bump up the purchase price as well, right?
So it needs to appraise for that, or nobody would be the primary lender on it.
Right.
So we're still working through this a lot. We've done quite a few of them, but you keep learning and you keep finding different ways of doing it better and stuff.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is that their, Morby method is famous for, you get to buy a house with $0 down, right? This could be another way in which you can do that, right? Because if that special relationship exists between the wholesaler and the buyer, then they could actually fund it all out of the wholesaler profit.
What makes it a special relationship? Hold on. That's the part that I wanted to ask, so I'm going to interject it right now. What makes it? What's the special relationship between the wholesaler and the...
So the first ones we saw, Effie, came to us because it was a wholesaler that was also engaged with the end buyer in business in some manner in which they wanted to fund that down payment. They wanted to be able to have money work that way, so there wasn't a down payment that needed to be paid out by this separate entity.
So was the wholesaler part of the end buyer also?
Sometimes we've seen it where the wholesaler is a minority share position on, but not always even a legal thing like that. But they don't really need that. It's just that's how the first one started. Our position on this is with a wholesaler saying, hey, look, if it's hard, if you have a really small list of buyers, you know how you can get a larger list of buyers? Tell them you'll pay their down payment for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Tell them you don't have to go look. Yeah, you don't have to go look for a second position lender to give you that money. We'll give you that money. I mean,
that's smart.
That's a pretty good pitch by a wholesaler. Of course, it raises the price.
What's in it for the wholesaler in that case?
That's what's in it, is they have more buyers. So a deal that's maybe a little bit trickier, they're going to have to give away almost all of their fees, selling it low or doing whatever. That's what we've seen.
They could convert it to part ownership, like you said.
Yeah, there's so many ways to do all this stuff. And to solve the problem with other means. We don't think this is one of those solutions to everybody's deal. Well, this isn't, hey, you could use this everywhere. A bit like a Morbi, there's a time and a place. It should never be your first
Yeah,
option.
it's a
Yeah.
tool.
And it should never
It's
be your
definitely a
first
tool.
deal.
It should never
Probably
be your
not.
first deal. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of to the position right now that we explicitly don't do like a Morbi method as somebody's first deal, because if they, well, lots of reasons. One, if they own nothing and have nothing, they shouldn't be, that's not what they should be doing.
Because it costs
Two,
them nothing to walk away.
yeah. And they're putting the seller at risk.
Of
That's
course.
in second position. Two, we think that some of the ways that transactional funding is done on a Morbi method can be sketchy. I'll use that phrase. I'll avoid any F words. So we think that if somebody owns assets, that it's a much more legitimate method to lien one of their assets to lend them the funds for the down payment into a Morbi method than some of the other methods people use, like pretending that the money went through their bank accounts and stuff like that. That way we can wire directly into title because we're actually a lender to them on a separate asset.
Yeah.
Sorry, I probably just made a whole mess of that, but
No. As lenders, we that's what we prefer. We want to send into a title company.
straight through, right?
But just going back for a second, if I'm a wholesaler, right, and I have one of these deals that is hard to move, it sounds like using this echo strategy, instead of me reducing my price with $20,000, I could offer the buyer to put in $20,000 as their down payment so that they maybe only come up with 10,000, right? Would that
Yeah,
be
you say yeah, exactly. I'm gonna sell it to you for more, but I'm gonna give you the down payment so you don't need to go look for that.
Right.
You would have been into it that anyway, right? Like if the price goes up, you would have had to go borrow that from somebody else if you didn't have money anyway. So it being a higher price and you borrowing it from first position lender is actually better. And not having a second position lender involved is always better because those rates are always much higher. So
Yep.
our trivial fee one time is by far the cheapest way to get out of that.
And if the property still appraises after you bump up the purchase price, then you still make your fee, right? As a wholesaler.
Yeah. They still get their fee. I think the one complication for the wholesaler in this is making sure that they balance they pay attention to the tax impact of creating a larger amount of perceived profit between the transactions. Right.
Yeah. On paper,
So
they're making a lot
there
more
is
money.
some math in it.
Yeah.
We make it sound super simple. There is a little bit of math that needs to be done to not accidentally, smack yourself in the back of the head when you weren't thinking.
Yeah. In short, don't do this if it's your first deal.
Yeah.
Don't do it
Don't
as a
do
first
this at
deal.
home.
Don't do it as a first deal.
Or mileage
Okay.
may vary with the IRS.
Yeah, that's the part where he said taxes. I was like, oops, hold on.
Never mind. Just cut that whole segment out of the show.
No, not at all. This is not in any way legal advice or accounting advice. It's just entertainment.
This is pure entertainment.
Yeah, if I can stick my tongue out, wave my hands, it's entertainment. All right. So for everyone out there, we're happy you joined us. Check out Paul Brown, which is a very, very unusual name. So you should be able to find it without any problem. But, his company name is northpeakrecovery.com and the lending is realquickfunds.com.
Yep.
Reach out to him there. Anywhere else you'd like them to reach out to you?
They can always join the community. It's on school. It's called
Yes. And you're calling it, what's the name of it again?
Transactional Funding Hub. Very easy to find.
Transactional Funding Hub.
We'll put all the links below.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we'll add all the links below. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
And Paul, thank you very, very much. You two don't go away, please. All right.
Thank you,
and the
guys.
rest of you, we shall see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Paul. It's been a blast.